You're ready, Fred. Good evening, everyone. Tonight is Monday, April 25th, 2022. It's 6:30 p.m. It is time for the Board of Selectmen meeting. First order, as always, this board stands for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 2 is the consent agenda with the minutes of April 19th.
Mr. Chair, before we take a motion on that,
Mr. Sullivan.
it's like, the board would like to note the passing of Norma Waterhouse. Norma was a children's librarian for many, many years. Segued into election worker role. Just a real nice lady. One of those people that behind the scenes make things go. When you have the election and Lori and Ora before that, just a real, real sad loss. Just like to send the sympathies on behalf of the board to her family.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Norma, you will be missed. Okay, consent agenda. What's the board's pleasure? Mr. Johnson?
Accept the consent agenda, which includes 1922.
Motion by Mr. Johnson,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Siganevich. Any discussion on the consent agenda? None? I'll let the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Item 3, we have some appointments tonight. First is Registrar, Republican Registrar, Mary Palazzo.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Ruda?
we had put this off a few weeks. We were waiting for a response from the Democrat
Okay.
committee.
All right.
We didn't receive that response as of the deadline, so we only have that one name to act on.
Okay. Are we acting tonight or are we waiting?
Yes.
Okay, thanks for that. Appreciate that. Mary, is Mary here? Hi, Mary. Oh, there she is. Come on up.
Am I to have
Yeah,
a seat?
sure.
Okay. All right.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you all.
Okay. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to take this role.
Okay, I forgot that I needed to prepare a little speech, but
Nothing big, just to say, introduce yourself.
I live in Dudley on Oxford Ave, and I've been wanting to get involved. I think there's a lot going on in our country, and I really want to have a bigger role. So I volunteered for this spot, hoping that I can bring something to it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mary, for putting your name forward. Any board members, anything for Mary?
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, what's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chair, make a motion that we appoint Mary Palazzo, term to expire 3/31/2023, as Republican Registrar to the Board of Registrars.
Motion by Mr. Sullivan, seconded by Mr. Siganevich. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Mary.
Hey, thank you
Appreciate
all.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 3B, the Economic Development Committee. Casey Bocelli, is she here today?
Kelsey.
Oh, there she is. Yeah, she is. She's looking to be appointed to the EDC, term to expire June 30th, 2025. Hi, guys.
Hi. Good evening.
Kelsey, you want to tell everybody about yourself and why you'd like to be on the EDC?
Sure. So my name is Kelsey Buccelli. For those who I don't know, I'm a Dudley resident. I've lived here for most of my life. And I recently, in January of this year, started my own CPA firm in town. Previously worked in accounting at Deloitte & Touche in their auditing practice. So I would like to think that my business experience, as well as a new perspective, can help the Economic Development Committee achieve their objectives to make sure that Dudley's a place where folks want to continue to live and do business.
Excellent.
Great. And Mr. Chairman, good evening. My name is Todd Donahoe, 22 Kennedy Drive. I'm also the chairman of the Economic Development Committee. I'm here along with Joanne to support Kelsey. We're very, very excited. As she said, she's a lifelong resident. We have a lot going on with the Economic Development Committee, and we just fully support her as joining our team, and we, we recommend and we hope that you will also appoint her. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Joanne, good to see you.
Yeah, well, we are delighted to have someone show up who's willing to participate in government, bring some good background with it, that she can give us good input on it, and she's very enthusiastic on it. But her expertise, we feel, is going to help us, and the fact she knows the community. So we feel very, very fortunate to have her be willing to come on board.
Fantastic. Board members.
Well, Mr. Chair, just
Sullivan.
welcome Kelsey to the family, to the party. Like you said, it's a whole different perspective when you're on the outside looking in, now you're on the inside. I appreciate her stepping up.
Yep, you, Jay?
Thank you for volunteering. Obviously, it's a time commitment not everyone is willing to make, and well needed, so thank you.
Gary?
Thank you for coming on, right after tax season. Coincidence or no?
Thank you.
That's good. And, yeah, I'll echo Joanne and the others about stepping up and also showing up, right? It's important, right, for those who care about the town. So I think you'll be great in that role. Board members?
Perfect fit.
Mr. Sullivan?
Mr. Chair, make a motion, appoint Kelsey Buccelli, term to expire June 23rd, 2025, to the Economic Development Committee.
Motion by Mr. Sullivan, seconded by Mr. Johnson. All in favor?
Oh,
Oh,
Discussion, June 30th,
what did I say?
23rd?
Oh,
yeah.
I just want to,
okay, no, June 30th, I'm
I
sorry.
don't
Good,
mean to
good.
be that.
No,
No,
I
that's
did
all
the
right.
same thing.
You gotta do it. Thank you, Carrie. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
So-
Thank you, Cal.
Mr. Chair, what does
Aye.
that leave you with openings? You still have another one?
Do we have an opening?
More?
We have a member, Jason Russo, who actually moved. He was, but I think, do we have any? We have one more opening, Joanne?
I think that, yeah, we might have one as an alternate.
As an alternate member. So if anybody, reaching out to the community, anybody, would like to become a little bit more involved, we have a lot of different things that are going on at the moment with the Mass LRRP. We're doing a lot of things, trying to see what the biggest, a way to bring more business to let's say, any vacancies in the storefronts on West Main Street corridor. We've been working, with Bill Scanlon, who's been amazing, and with everything coming up, especially with things like the Stevens Mill project, we feel that Dudley is going to, within the next 5 to 10 years, Dudley is going to definitely be a place where businesses, small, medium, and large, are going to look to come, and not just to set up shop, but also it's a great place to live as well. So we're very, very excited.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
All
Thanks
right.
for all you do.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Good luck.
you. Good luck, Cal. All right. Item 4. Special night tonight. We have some certificates of commendation we'd like to talk about. Mr. Ruder, would you like
Fire
to?
chief.
Dean, do you want to come on up and explain what we're doing tonight? That's fine.
So, as all of you know, there was a pretty significant fire the day of March 24th, 2022 at 19 Brandon Road. I felt there were 4 individuals that should have been recognized for going above and beyond the call of duty, and I think it resulted in saving some civilian lives. So, unless you have any comments, I'll just read the certificates, and as I read them, the person can come up and accept their award and stand off to the side till the end. And these are in no particular order. Also, I'd like to say that I tried to get the information as accurate as possible. If I left anything out, I apologize. I was only able to interview 2 of the 4 people prior to tonight. So, for Jacqueline Carter, the Dudley Fire Department would like to recognize Jacqueline for her quick thinking and actions on Thursday, March 24th, 2022. Jacqueline made the initial 911 call to alert public safety of the fire at 19 Brandon Road. Jacqueline also knocked on doors and assisted persons in the building to safety. For your exemplary performance during this event, you have been awarded this citation from the Dudley Fire Department. Your bravery and calmness during this crisis has earned you the undying gratitude of the Dudley Fire Department and the citizens of Dudley.
Dan.
Thank you.
Hey, guys.
Officer Ryan Daniels. The Dudley Fire Department would like to recognize Officer Ryan Daniels for his quick thinking and actions on Thursday, March 24th, 2022. Officer Daniels assisted in the rescue of an individual from a structure fire that occurred at 19 Brandon Road. For your exemplary performance during this event, you have been awarded this citation from the Dudley Fire Department. Your bravery and calmness during this crisis has earned you the undying gratitude of the Dudley Fire Department and the citizens of Dudley. Officer Timothy Bullock. The Dudley Fire Department would like to recognize Officer Timothy Bullock for his quick thinking and actions on Thursday, March 24th, 2022. Officer Bullock assisted in the rescue of an individual from a structure fire that occurred at 19 Brandon Road. Officer Bullock was off duty at the time of the fire and is a member of the Charlton Police Department. For your exemplary performance during this event, you have been awarded this citation from the Dudley Fire Department. Your bravery and calmness during this crisis has earned you the undying gratitude of the Dudley Fire Department and the citizens of Dudley. Tony Fitzhebert. The Dudley Fire Department would like to recognize Tony Fitzhebert for his quick thinking and actions on Thursday, March 24th, 2022. Tony assisted in the rescue of an individual from a structure fire that occurred at 19 Brandon Road. For your exemplary performance during this event, you have been awarded the citation from the Dudley Fire Department. Your bravery and calmness during this crisis has earned you the undying gratitude of the Dudley Fire Department and the citizens of Dudley. Thank you to all of you. Your actions resulted in saving lives, and we're very grateful for that, so thank you.
We gotta get a picture with these guys. Come on, guys.
Trying to squeeze everybody in up front
Yeah,
here.
come on, we'll get you.
come up for a picture? Tallest one in the front.
Not in front of Mr. Mayor.
No. They know the drill.
Do the best we can.
Want us back here?
Yeah, right
That's
there,
good.
right there.
Any way you
Yeah,
can.
wherever you can.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Won't block anybody out.
That's okay, Ryan. Stand right in front of me, Ryan.
Jim.
Thank you.
Thanks,
folks.
awesome, guys. Thank you.
John, it's lucky to have you here.
Thank you. Good job, guys. Thank you
Yep.
so much. Thank you.
It's all about.
Yep.
Well,
Ryan, you look different.
what's that? Yeah, I see. Chief makes it.
Chief makes it. All right.
Chief or the wife? Same difference?
So, like I said, Mr. Joseph always says we like to catch people doing something good, and that's exactly what the fire chief did tonight, so thanks to everybody for caring about your neighbors.
Yep. That's what it's all
Truly,
about.
truly special. Okay, item 5, it's one license and permits. Nichols College is probably here, yep. Looking for an outdoor entertainment license with a request for an outdoor entertainment license for Friday, April 29th, 2022, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. in, I think that's supposed to be Copper Beach Quad for DJ music.
Hi, I'm Carrie Calnan. I'm the Vice President of Innovation and External Affairs over at the college. And we have put in a request for April 29th from 5 to 8 p.m. We have a student group that's looking to do outdoor DJ and a food truck.
Okay?
Mr. Chair, just
Mr.
a,
Sullivan.
just a regular questions. You already run it by public safety. Public safety folks, you guys got anything to do with that, Chief?
Anybody paperwork, all right. What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to
Mr. Sigenovich.
grant Nichols College an outdoor entertainment license for Friday, April 29th, 2022, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the Copper Beach Quad for DJ music.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sigenovich, seconded by Mr. Johnson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Get that signed up for you. Up, and the fees.
Payoff.
On TV and everything.
I'll let that pen go too.
No.
All right, we'll just take a minute to sign this. Yo.
You have to do that electronically pretty soon.
Oh, really?
Approve it, boom, your signature.
All right,
Can I do it from my home office?
Mr. Johnson signs that.
Check it with.
We'll move on to, bring that back. Item 6 is citizens' comments. Are there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak on something that's not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none. All right, nobody? Okay. And item 7, Town Administrator's Report. Jonathan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Sorry. Part of my report tonight is actually gonna be a presentation that I dumped again on Olivia. So,
Olivia's here.
I just have a few updates right now. The first one is, without getting into the weeds as to what the exact issue is, and what the upgrade will be, as part of our ongoing effort to increase security within the town network, all staff and officials with access to the network, including anyone with an email address, can expect to be contacted by our help desk staff to complete a security update in order to be able to continue to have network access. These updates, while sometimes inconvenient, are very necessary to protect the community and the users from cyber attacks. So we've started doing it internally already. It's a 10-minute easy process, and it's not that much of a hassle, but it adds a great level of security to our network access. So, expanding on that security theme, we're working to add additional physical security measures to all offices in the building. And in the coming weeks, the police department will be working with each office in the town hall to conduct some additional testing in each office of the building of some existing alarm equipment. So that'll be something that we haven't previously done for a while and really needs to be done and updated. So those two things, while a little bit disruptive, are very necessary. So now we're working with Civic Plus to complete work on the town's website. You remember we did a quick change during the pandemic of the way our website looked to make it a little bit more accessible and user-friendly, as that was one of the few ways that we were able to communicate during the course of the pandemic. Civic Plus will be our new website hoster, and we're doing a redesign of the website. And we plan to have a demo of both the new site and some of the online permitting software, which we rolled out about 6 months ago, but we never really had a public demo of it. Kind of did a soft rollout. Seems to be working very well, but I thought it would be helpful if we brought it to a meeting and it was broadcast and the selectmen was shown some of the features that it includes. So, and that's through OpenGov, so we can expect that in an upcoming selectmen's meeting.
Excellent.
And then finally, we have 2 finalists for the position of town accountant. I anticipate the board will have an appointment to make at the next meeting. I should have further information this week, and I will advise the board when it becomes available. I'd like to thank Mr. Sigenovich, Mike Mayotte, Mark Landry, and Rich Carmignani for their work on the screening committee. And I appreciate Mr. Johnson's agreement to sit with us and conduct the finalist interviews. So we can anticipate an appointment within the next meeting, or at the very latest 2. That's the quick update for now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Ruda. Anybody have any questions for the town administrator? Okay, motion to accept.
Yep. Motion to accept as presented, the town administrator report.
Motion by Mr. Sullivan.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Carry out of room. Okay. All right, now we have a public hearing about Piastre Road, and it says to act on a petition from Huguenot Development Corporation to accept and vote on the layout as a town way, a private way known as Piastre Road with the necessary easements. Planning board approved April 13, 2022. The chair will open the meeting at 6:50 PM.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Rhoda.
Mr. Scanlon is here tonight, and he's gonna advise the board exactly what he's looking for in terms of a vote tonight.
Okay.
And one of the requirements, he and I was speaking a week or two ago, is to have the Board of Selectmen, this is a very old law, to have the Board of Selectmen walk the road that was supposed to be accepted, but in modern times, we generally the highway commissioners delegate that to the planner and or the highway superintendent, so that would be my advice in this case. So without further discussion.
Okay. Mr. Scanlon?
Thank you. Bill Scanlon, Town Planner.
And just Kyle Becker on behalf of Huguenot Development as well, in case there's any questions for the owners.
Hey, Kyle, welcome.
So this meeting is to discuss accepting the layout of Piastre Road. It's the final 830 feet of the road that goes up to the end of the cul-de-sac. As part of the state law for accepting public ways, the Board of Selectmen, as road commissioners, have to express their intent to lay out the road, which you did at the last meeting, and referred it to the planning board for their recommendation. On April 13th, the planning board discussed the matter and voted to recommend to you that the layout be approved by your board. And I sent a memo to that effect last week. So the purpose tonight is for you to actually vote to approve the layout. I have copies of the plans here. If you'd like to see them, I can lay them out for you. The meeting has been duly advertised by Michelle, as required by statute.
Pleasure.
So, in my opinion, I think we've complied with all the requirements for acceptance. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer, or perhaps Kyle as well.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, it's nice to see,
Mr. Sullivan?
nice to see this subdivision closing, followed all the rules, regs, the developer stayed on top of it. This was one of the first ones when I was on the planning board. They came in and they actually modified their original plan to conform with today's zoning, even though they didn't have to, which essentially made bigger lots, less lots. So it was nice process from the very beginning to see it come to fruition.
A companion piece of this is the acceptance of the open space at the end of the cul-de-sac. It's a little over 9 acres, I believe. That's also been put on the warrant to be placed under the care of the Conservation Commission, so become conservation land. It does contain the stormwater basin, so there's provision made in the deed to allow the town to access that basin to maintain it. Kyle, do you have any?
No.
Okay.
No further comments.
Okay, board members, any comments for the planner?
Well, Mr. Chair, I think,
Hold on.
I think if the
I'll
planning,
call you in a minute. Okay, thank you.
planning board did their due diligence, obviously, and I'm sure Mr. Scanlon can confirm they got the completed Form H.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I'm happy at
Okay.
the end of the close of the public hearing to move it forward.
Okay, Jay, Jerry?
I'm good.
Okay,
Said and done.
now, sir, come on.
My name's Brian Hanks, recently moved to Dudley, live on Piastre Road. Just have a quick question. At the end of the cul-de-sac, there's a large, kind of call it a rotary, for lack of a better term. And I'm just curious on who maintains that for mowing it, for instance, so versus all the weeds and whatnot that grow on that.
Good question.
Is that a town
Planner,
thing?
Well, at the moment, it's privately owned, so once the town accepts it, then the highway department would be responsible for that.
Okay,
Great.
good answer? Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thanks for coming in. Anybody else in the audience? Any neighbors or butters? Anything? Mr. Ruda, anything else to add?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. good to see that the roads are starting to get accepted on the process. This is great. Well, if there's nothing else, then I will close the meeting at 6:59 PM. Record show.
Did I get a vote from
Huh?
your board to approve the layout?
Okay,
Yeah.
you will. Mr. Sullivan, we about to say something? Or?
No,
All
just
right,
gonna
board-
ask,
what's the board's pleasure?
just gonna ask Bill, does he have a specific way he wants the article worded, just accept the
I don't have any specific language to that effect.
Mr. Chair, make a motion that we accept the layout of Piastre Road as approved previously by the planning board
Article's correct.
and submitted on behalf of Huguenot Development Corp.
Okay.
Motion by Mr. Sullivan, seconded by Mr. Johnson. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great,
Good.
thank you guys. Great work, everybody.
And thank you guys for making it so easy to do business in this town. Very much so.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. We really want to lean in on these roads. Appreciate that.
Can we note that in the minutes?
Yeah, please, yeah, right. Good.
Please,
Can you come back in 2 weeks?
Right. Okay. All right, number 9, we have some new business. 9A, Dudley Grange is asking for a parking waiver, June 16th, 2022, from 2 to 8 p.m. on both sides of Center Road for the annual Strawberry Festival. Mr. Wheelock.
Good evening.
Paul?
Good evening, gentlemen. I guess there was a misunderstanding between Michelle and myself. I was looking for a parking waiver for May 14th for the first annual Dudley Agricultural Commission, Dudley Grows Together plant hop. I'm representing the Land Trust, the Grange, and the Black Tavern. The Land Trust and the Grange are going to be selling plants and stuff, and the Black Tavern is going to be having a yard sale on that day. So is it okay if we can do that
So
tonight?
we can call it a Scrivener's error and say May 14th for this? Can we do that?
No, it's not in lieu of June 16th, it's a separate request.
No, that would be separate. If you want to give them that one tonight too, I'm sure they'll take
Okay,
it.
we can't do that then? Okay.
You could.
This is still, we can do this, that's a still valid one though, Paul, right? The
May 9th
parking
is the
waiver
next
for
one.
June 16th?
Yes, he's got time.
We can put it on May 9th, Mr. Wheelock, just because if it wasn't printed on the agenda the right way, then we
Yeah.
can't have a vote on it.
So you want me to come back to the next meeting?
Yeah.
You don't have to, I mean, we'll, I mean.
Oh, I don't mind. If you want me to come up, I will.
Okay.
Oh, you'll get it, it'll be plenty of time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're gonna just meet with the chief anyway. All right, can't
Do
do it.
we want to vote on this?
Yeah,
Can
we'll
we,
vote on-
we
yeah,
can
that
still
we
vote on this one though?
The 16th.
Yeah, that's fine if you guys want to do that.
Yeah, we will. We'll get-
I'll tell them they're all set.
Please.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Sullivan.
grant the request from Dudley Grange number 163 for the parking waiver Thursday, June 16, 2022, from 2 to 8, both sides of Center Road for the annual Strawberry Festival, just with the caveat they meet with public safety, make sure it's all blocked off, as they always do.
Motion by Mr. Sullivan, seconded by Mr. Johnson. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Wheelock.
Thanks, Paul.
We'll get you on the next agenda for that. 9B, road betterments vote to debt exclude on June 13, 22 ballot. Jeff Murray, Bill Scanlon, Mr. Ruda.
Mr. Chairman, we don't need a debt exclusion vote for this particular item, but I would like to take the time, as it's listed on the agenda, for Jeff Murray and Bill Scanlon, give the board an update. We got some preliminary reports back
Oh, okay.
late last week.
On the betterments projects?
Yes.
Awesome. Come on up, guys. Thank you.
So, basically, we've gotten in from the town's consultant engineer preliminary results on the cost estimates for the 3 projects that were brought forwards by petition. The engineer's actually out of town, so we're gonna be reviewing those with him over the next week or two. We'll have the numbers solidified to bring forwards to the neighborhoods to have their approval, and the final numbers will be put forward onto likely on the town meeting floor or on the warrant. So they'll have those to review prior to the town meeting and then potentially approve. Once that happens, as it's been discussed before, potentially those projects will move forward, assuming that there's a favorable result, and assuming that happens, the work can then proceed over the course of the summer and potentially bring those projects to a fall town meeting for approval, layout and approval.
Mr. Chairman, we're gonna make every effort to make sure that those are printed numbers on the ballot, on the town meeting warrant. And we're gonna notify obviously the people from the petitioners of each road to make sure they know what the final number actually is. One of the issues is that the preliminary numbers reflect market value and so forth, as opposed to the contracted rates that the town, negotiates
Material
by
prices.
bid and so forth. So we wanna make sure we get those numbers to a lower, the actual lower amount for the residents.
We want to make sure we bring forward the most accurate cost estimates that we can. And again, as Mr. Ruda mentioned, we'll use our annual contract for materials and services with the vendors that we're using to make sure that happens. So.
Excellent. You guys have any questions?
No, Mr. Chair, I want to thank
Sullivan.
everyone, all the work. I know it's been difficult, and once again, just as everyone knows the process, that the residents can still not accept it. They can back out, but then we're back to private way, their responsibility.
Thank you. I actually had go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I know the town administrator's been talking to town council about the town meeting article, and I believe it's not going to be a debt exclusion. It'll just be a borrowing issue. So we won't need to put it on a town election in June for the voters' approval. It's just a town meeting vote.
We had an impromptu meeting this morning over this particular agenda item. There was some confusion, but what it boils down to is the money is, we can go ahead and borrow the money that's authorized at town meeting, and it's paid back directly through the betterments assessed to the people who live on that road. There's no need to have a debt exclusion vote. It's not a cost that's rolled out to the entire all the taxpayers. It's just specific betterments per address.
Okay.
And it goes forward as a lien, right? If people sell the property,
Right.
they don't get out from underneath it, or they pay it off.
Correct.
Speaking of that, I got a call from a resident about the Misty Meadow project. One of the houses, someone who signed the petition is selling the house. What happens next?
We've had that discussion.
Oh, okay. So that's all set? Okay.
At the time of the submission of the betterment, he was a homeowner, and his frontage was counted in the determination of whether qualified, so.
Okay, so it just kind of conveys with the sale?
Yes.
It's a civil matter that's related to the homeowner, doesn't involve the town.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that it wouldn't be a hurdle for the project moving forward.
Sure.
Okay,
Excellent.
that's it. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Great
Thanks for the
update.
update.
Great update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. 9C, Olivia Antonsen is here. She's going to do a report on green spaces / open spaces in Dudley. Hi, Olivia.
Good evening.
Mr. Ruda?
Mr. Chairman, usually I start with a prologue for these presentations, but I think in this case, an epilogue is going to be more appropriate.
Okay.
All right, good evening, gentlemen. Always a pleasure to be here. For those of you who might not know me, my name is Olivia Antonsen. I'm an intern here at the town of Dudley, and today I'm going to be presenting on Dudley's open space, conserved land, and protected land. So to introduce this report details the various land designations, including chapters 61A, 61, 61B, land trusts, Quinnipog River Rail Trail, playgrounds and athletic fields, publicly accessible bodies of water, conservation restriction land, and land owned by Mass Audubon. 7 other municipalities are included in this report, including Athol, Bolton, Charlton, Spencer, Sutton, Upton, and Worcester. Starting off, we have land trusts, which are organizations that acquire land with the goal of conserving and protecting the land. For example, we have the Dudley Conservation Land Trust, and their mission is to provide for and promote the conservation, acquisition, and protection of land and open space for education, wildlife habitat, and the preservation of the rural, natural, and scenic character of Dudley and surrounding communities for current and future generations. Dudley has 337.16 acres of land trust land, equating to 2.38% of the town's total area. Dudley is broken into the Dudley Conservation Land Trust with 301.96 acres, and the Opacum Land Trust has 35.2 acres here. You can see on the bar graph on the right that compared to the 7 other towns previously mentioned, Dudley is 4th out of 8, so right smack dab in the middle right there. Moving on to Chapter 61, and I will preface this by saying with the Chapter 61, 61A, and 61B, I only have data of other towns from Athol and Bolton. I have public records requests out for the 5 other towns, so hopefully a second edition of this report will be forthcoming. Mass Woods defines Chapter 61 as land applying to growing forest products, including wood, timber, Christmas trees, and other products produced by forest vegetation. Landowners receive a property tax reduction in exchange for a commitment to keep their land undeveloped and to manage it for forest products. Dudley has 81.6 acres of Chapter 61 land, equating to 0.58% of the town's total area, which is lower compared to the 2 other towns of Athol and Bolton. Chapter 61A land is designated for agricultural use. It's meant for growing agricultural or horticultural products, including fruits, vegetables, ornamental shrubs, timber, animals, and maple syrup. It's a good fit for landowners engaged in agriculture on their land. Dudley has 3,793.71 acres of Chapter 61A land, which equates to 26.82% of the town's total area. You can see compared to Athol and Bolton, Dudley has a ton of Chapter 61A land. And Chapter 61B is for open space and recreation. Because there is no requirement for land enrolled in Chapter 61B to be managed or have a 10-year forest management plan, the 61B program is a good fit for landowners who take a passive approach to their land. Dudley has 233.91 acres of Chapter 61B land, equating to 1.65% of the town's total area, right behind Athol, which has 2.02%. It's also important to note that Chapters 61, 61A, and 61B come with potential tax breaks for property owners. It all depends on the different acreages and land management requirements. But these 2 next slides have information from the Mass Woods tax calculator. So for example, if you had 100 acres and your per acre valuation was $119, your current use valuation would be $11,900. Dudley's per thousand tax rate is $11.70, so your estimated current use tax would be $139.23. You can see the formulas right there below. It's a little different for Chapter 61B. Again, these are just meant to serve as an estimate, but if your land is assessed value of $30,000, your Chapter 61B assessment would be $7,500. The commercial tax rate is $11.70, so your taxes under the 61B program would be $87.75. There are 5 other categories of open space I've included in this report. The first one is the Quinnipog River Rail Trail, which is 4.19 miles long and covers approximately 37.38 acres, or 0.26% of Dudley's total land. This acreage was estimated using GIS mapping. It's broken down into the Chaseville-New Boston Road section, which is 1.50 miles long, and the west side section of the rail trail spans 2.69 miles. There's also a kayak and canoe access point located off of West Dudley Road. Then we have playgrounds and athletic fields, where 12 parcels of land fit into this category, including the athletic fields at the Dudley schools. GIS mapping was used to estimate the acreage for some of these parcels. In total, there are 28.65 acres designated as playgrounds and athletic fields in Dudley, comprising 0.20% of the total land area. You can see the chart on the right has everything from the Crawford Field to the Dudley Municipal Complex Playground, middle school and high school, courts and fields, Pine Street Park, Mason Road School Playground, really all included here. We also have publicly accessible bodies of water. While there are many bodies of water in town, not all allow public access. For kayaking and canoeing, there are 3 bodies of water that allow public access, including Merino Pond, Mill Pond, and Peter Pond. And for fishing, there are approximately 10 bodies of water in Dudley that are publicly accessible, including Merino Pond, Baker Pond, and Low Pond. Next up is conservation restrictions. This land is owned by the town of Dudley and managed by the Dudley Conservation Commission. It's intended to remain as is in a predominantly natural, scenic, and open condition for the protection of the natural habitat, watershed resources, and environmental system. In total, there are 125.56 of conservation restriction land at the moment, comprising 0.89% of Dudley's total area. You can see the chart on the right has all the conservation areas, including Ardlock Acres, Baker Pond, Hayden Pond Road, Perryville Estates, Peter Amarello Senior Memorial, Pierpont Road, Shepherd Hill Estates, Tobin Farm Estates. So 125.56 acres. Then we have the Mass Audubon land. Mass Audubon is the largest nature-based conservation organization in New England, and their mission is to protect the nature of Massachusetts for people and wildlife. The organization owns and conserves 211 acres of land in Dudley, known as the Pierpont Meadow Wildlife Sanctuary, which makes up 1.49% of Dudley's total area. And this slide includes a summary of the town of Dudley's land. The information is the same, it's just in the bar graph form versus chart form. You can see the top three categories of open space, conserved land, and protected land fall into Chapter 61A, which was the agriculture, Dudley Conservation Land Trust, as well as Chapter 61B, which is open space and recreation. And in total, everything I've mentioned in this presentation adds up to 4,848.97 acres, which is 34.28% of Dudley's land being open space, conserved land, and protected land, so more than a third. Therefore, after taking into consideration the comparisons to other towns, as well as analyzing the various categories of open space that Dudley has, it is clear that Dudley is considered to have a large amount of open space and protected land. Because Dudley is known for its, quote, rural charm, concerns have been raised that economic development could detract from this characteristic. With more than 1/3 of Dudley's land designated as open space or protected lands, these claims are unfounded and fail to recognize the reality of Dudley's land inventories. Criticizing economic development on the basis of detracting from the rural charm of the town hampers progress and negatively impacts the town of Dudley. Economic development brings revenue into the town and aids in funding the maintenance of some of the town's open space inventories. As Dudley moves forward with economic development projects, these inventories of open space, conserved land, and protected land will still support the claim that Dudley is a rural town. And as I mentioned earlier, a second edition of this report is forthcoming because Chapter 61 data from the other 5 towns has been requested. Any questions?
Excellent. Thank you, Olivia. Mr. Sullivan?
No, Mr. Chair, thank Olivia again for her efforts. I mean, she proven time and time again, she gets a task and she does it to her fullest and best ability and doesn't leave me with any questions, I'll tell you that.
Kerry?
No, that was well done. Thank you.
Jay?
Mr. Town Administrator, through the chair, what do we plan on doing with this information?
So the point of bringing this information out is that I believe it was becoming an obstacle because more recently, Bill and Jeff and I have been working on, for example, a feasibility study, getting funding, a grant source for a feasibility study for some town-owned land behind the courthouse to see what we could possibly do to develop that and create and generate some form of revenue for the town outside of the tax base. And I received some, not a lot, but some pushback on it that it detracts from the rural nature and character of the town of Dudley. So the point of this report is to give the Board of Selectmen, Economic Development Committee, Planning Board, every relevant board in town and the community itself, the correct information, which is when you talk about protecting land and providing for rural charm and character, at 34% of our total land area being protected and maintaining its conserved and rural character, we've done that. So now we have to find a way to pay for that because it doesn't pay for itself to keep 1/3 of the town open space, basically. So these are the facts that go with the claim, that actually back up the claim that we have, that we've done that, and we continue to do that. We think it's important, but it doesn't pay for itself. It doesn't generate any revenue or income to pay the bills. So we should certainly continue to conserve and protect those spaces, but we also have to find a way to pay for stuff, and that doesn't do it.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Olivia. Now I know what the problem I'm trying to solve, that makes perfect sense. Excellent, thank you.
Okay. Stephen?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Mr. Ruda kind of hit on one area where we're looking at maybe getting some use out of town-owned land, and we certainly have the forum for people to come in with questions, we say it all the time, we're a very accommodating board, and people can reach out to our office too and get a copy of this report, which very, very clearly delineates what Mr. Ruda just emphasized and Olivia did. Over a third of our area is in some form of protection, which is a great percentage to have, but it's a delicate balance in the long run.
Thank you. Mr. Jay?
To the chair, Mr. Town Administrator, is it around that time of year where we look at the town-owned properties and also determine which ones we should still hold on to and which ones we probably should?
I could certainly bring something forward. I mean, we do that on a relatively consistent basis. There are some potential other uses for town-owned property. Some of it generates revenue. Some of it adds to this plan.
But some of it's completely useless to the
Some of it's completely useless.
Mr. Carmignani?
Good evening. Let me start by saying excellent report. It was very nice, well done, easy to follow. Thank you. I'll start with what's town-owned. There's sort of a split. There's the former highway barn across from St. Andrew Babola. That's a town-owned piece of land from the beginning, as opposed to a tax foreclosure. Disposed of a little bit differently, but ours to expend as need be. The cost to carry is pretty much zero, other than what wasn't paid. You just recut the pie when it comes to next year's taxes. Obviously, you want to get that on. There's always a discussion about the disposition of a tax title property. Usually, a flagship piece is the reason you bring it to the forefront. Nobody's going to line up and say, oh my goodness, I want that 3,000 square foot piece that's totally wet behind the town hall. So usually, once we get a marketable piece, then it's a little easier to go through and add on other pieces. As of right now, real estate is hard to come by. So to get a flagship piece, a marketable, developable piece, there's nothing on the radar. There's enough equity everywhere. So nothing's been foreclosed on. The land court is doing its best to adapt to COVID. I have things from 2019 that haven't gotten a second base, to use the baseball analogy. Always interested if there's a parcel of land that someone has a particular interest in, we'd go through and we'd facilitate a sale. But again, it's a tax title property, it's public outcry auction, and from where I sit, we'd go through and put our best foot forward saying, it's not useless, this is the best use we can find. In the back of our minds, we know what approximately it's worth and try to get the highest dollar amount for it. We can't go through and say, oh, it's behind Mr. Sullivan's house, well, maybe we'll just sell it to him. So, it's the public trust, the public outcry, and obviously the highest bidder.
So are those small slivers of land that the town has no plans for and are not necessarily marketable, but could provide income to the town and offset some of these other large expenses by, whether it's water, school, or otherwise? Should we be looking at those and at least get a one-time hit, knowing that they're not these large pieces, I forget the term you used, that we should probably hold on to for
Flagship piece, a marketable piece, if you go to our auctioneer's website, the Z-Coast group out of Shrewsbury is, they always seem to have a great flash. It used to be this restaurant and it's subdividable. Goodness gracious, I've got a whole bunch of helicopter lots. But again, I'd be happy to go through and give you sort of my thought on that. Again, it's kind of tough to get something that's marginally developable. I'm thinking of a half a dozen, the more recent ones where you'd go through and sell a non-conforming piece of land with 10 feet of frontage. Well, what do you do with that? You know what I mean? The idea, as
It's not, I'm thinking it's not up to us to determine those little slivers are gonna be used for. If someone's willing to buy them,
right, and
then they're worth the cash value to the town, because we're never gonna do anything with them. Probably create more paperwork over the next 50 years holding on to them than let's
Right.
get them onto someone else's property.
right, and I have a short list of 3 or 4 of those smaller ones. Like I said, it would be a back lot abutted by 3 or 4 people, and it's pocket change, but happy to go through and do something like that, absolutely.
And in some cases, Mr. Chairman, in some cases, there are slivers of land that may not have a lot of value to the town, but they may have value to the abutter, who may have a chest, 3 or 4 chest moves down the road, have another deal that ongoing that, and we have been working to kind of meet some of those parcels out.
To the chair, we have a number of very large headwinds coming our way with water and school budget. It just feels like we're holding on to something that will not appreciate much in value. So why wouldn't we get some value today? And then you don't have a guy like me asking about it. I'm gonna go ask you every year for the paperwork, and the time you waste pulling up that paperwork, or filing with the state or this, that, and the other thing, those costs add up, and you don't see it until you waste 20 years of time on it. Why would we hold on to something like that? It doesn't make sense. Not to me.
No, I think we all agree on that, and we're working towards, and I can, because it is gonna be a public outcry auction, there are a couple of parcels that are contiguous to themselves that are town-owned that don't necessarily, that need to be redrawn to make them more marketable, and I know that Bill has been working, and Jeff and Rich have all been working to try to get those things to market. It's just, they're not shovel-ready to put it, to coin a phrase, in a lot of cases.
There's some work there.
There's definitely some potential there, and we are certainly pursuing it, but it's just not.
But if the cost to do that counteracts the profit on the land.
Right. Mr. Chairman, we've gone through, I remember Tom Purcell, the health agent, doing perks, things like that. The town of Dudley looks favorably upon the continued use of this property as a single-family dwelling, and having the building inspector sign off on something like that, or an opinion from the planning board that says, this may be subdividable, it's Res 15, and there's 10 acre, and what have you, so really put a nice shine on the apple. Unfortunately, some of these pieces we lose the game of old maid. I get stuck with something, and, not necessarily the greatest, but absolutely worth the exercise.
Okay. Thanks, Rich. And thank you, Olivia. That was very, very good.
Thank you.
Awesome, great job. All right, 9D, Water Sewer Department, discussion regarding indirect costs. Mr. Ruda.
Mr. Chairman, I've asked to have this put on the next agenda. The discussion of indirect costs is really, a lot of it has to do with the treasurer's purview that I wanted, you just got back from vacation, I didn't want to thrust it upon him on his first day back.
Do you want to move this to the next meeting?
It's already on the next meeting.
Okay, all right, without objection.
All the parties have been advised.
All right, without objection, we'll table that. Oh, Rich.
I mean, it's a pretty broad scope, and I was sort of wondering, What the questions were, it's formulaic. You know, I still have my predecessor's spreadsheet, and we plug numbers in, and it was reinforced in the management letter by the auditors in 2020, you know, saying, as part of maintaining the enterprise funds, the town charges the enterprise funds for indirect costs. As part of the audit, we reviewed the indirect costs and found them to be proper, you know, so sort of a surprise to see it being questioned.
Is it being questioned, or are we just talking about it?
The request through Michelle was to put it on the agenda for a discussion
By water sewer?
by water sewer, the commissioners.
Okay. All right, then we'll have that discussion next time. You'll be there?
I love details. I got
I know
3
you do.
folders full of this stuff, which is, you know, why I hadn't seen a question come through that was unanswerable. If you,
From water sewer?
from water sewer,
Okay.
you know, is it a general discussion between 2 boards saying, you know, fundamentally, what are we doing, or?
Well, I've heard in the past that they complain about it, but, I mean, I assumed it was more of that. Mr. Ruda, do you know?
Maybe it would be a good idea for Rich and the commissioners or a delegate to sit down and kind of in advance.
All right.
Try to do it offline.
Oh, that would be best, right? And then,
What we had.
okay,
Yeah.
yet it's on the agenda. So.
Yeah, and I had no intention of, you know, I have our calculations and everything, and how we got from point A to point B. Wasn't gonna sit here and have an unproductive conversation. And I didn't produce a number, you know, bingo balls coming out. You know, I sat down with George 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, with everything.
Okay.
Probably the 3rd or 4th or 5th time I've done it. So that's why, it's almost a question to me. I don't,
Okay.
wasn't quite sure why this was here and what remained undone
I don't know, Rich, to be
or
honest.
incomplete.
Right, I don't think we have had the discussion yet, is what I'm saying.
Maybe it's more of a fundamental
Yeah.
discussion.
That's what I would assume that I mean, I've heard it from the Water Sewer Commission members about, we need to look at that, and I've heard that over the years, so I assumed, I shouldn't assume, but that's what usually.
I've heard it for 20 years.
Right.
You know, I'm the collector's office.
know.
I never hear somebody say, it's a very just and fair bill, excellent, I'll pay it early. So,
Yeah, I paid my water bill early today.
come on, you're a saint. I can see the halo.
My excise tax bills with your name on it, come on, paid right away, Rich. All right.
So,
All
Mr.
right,
Chair, I just have a
Mr.
quick
Sullivan.
question. With the possible exception where the public forum, does that even fall under our purview? That seems it's under the treasurer collector's purview. Why, would we just be hosting their
I think that's
discussion?
what Jonathan just said.
I agree. You know, as part of your,
No, finish up, go ahead, Rich.
well, the way I see it, they're a department the same as the assessors or fire or police. And their budget going forward has, this is our revenue, these are our rates, because you are an enterprise, okay, what does it cost to run that water portion of it? And it's allocated, and the formula comes from the Department of Revenue, and just
Punch the numbers in.
you punch the numbers in, right.
All right, I'm just wondering why. they're hosting.
It's sort of simple, it's sort of straightforward. So I guess as part of the annual budget, the Board of Selectmen would ensure that it's sound, but it's sort of a Byzantine calculation of everything. the support for the water and the sewer as it operates in the town, so.
Okay, no, that's good. I mean, maybe, it's already baked into the budget now, so I assume this is something about the next time this gets calculated, based on said Byzantine calculations. Jay?
We're speculating for half an hour.
I know, I'm just not, I'm not clear what this was for.
But,
so.
Mr. Chairman, I think Mr. Sullivan brings up a good point.
Yeah.
You know, it's been the hot potato I've had to hold for 20 years, and the idea that the Board of Selectmen are reviewing it at their meeting.
I think you're reading too much into it, Rich, honestly.
I don't want your hot potato.
Yeah, no, this was just a line item that,
It has to be on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, and if we
Okay.
can resolve it outside the meeting.
yeah, I would much rather that. There's no,
Well, let the
Stephen.
internal mechanisms
that's,
work its
yeah,
way out.
you guys are the department heads, work it out. That's always how we work things here.
Well, clearly Rich didn't ask to be on the agenda. The
No,
ball's on the other
I
side.
love to be here.
That's why we're tabling it, but they're not here to talk about it, so we're gonna table it, all right? Let's move on. Thank you. All right. Item 10, old business. The remaining warrant articles, Board of Selectmen vote on actions or take any other actions relative thereto. Mr. Ruda.
Mr. Chairman, I think maybe the easiest way to do this, even though we've already, with the thought in mind that we've already had a joint meeting with the FAA and approved the financial articles, is for me just to do like we generally do, is to call out the article number, and I'll read the heading of the article and just yell out hold if you want to stop and discuss it. Otherwise, we'll take a vote on it tonight in order to get the warrant posted.
Okay.
That works?
Sounds like a plan. Everybody have it up? What to read, well, so you can call it out? Smart draft, right? Okay. All right, go ahead, Jay.
And as we read through, I put the FAA recommended action and what I'm recommending, what action for the Board of Selectmen to take in red at the bottom of the article.
Yep.
Okay, Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, Article 4, Article 5, Article 6, Article 7, Article 8, Article 9, Article 10, Article 11, Article 12, Article 13, Article 14, Article 15, Article 16, Article 17, Article 18.
Question.
Okay. Article 19, Article 20.
Hang on.
Standing by.
Question.
On 19?
20.
On 20, okay.
18 and 20.
18 and 20, okay. Article 21, Article 22, Article 23. Article 24. Oh, hey, look, in the planning, the town planner is here to answer those two holes.
All right.
What a coincidence.
Wow, how'd that work? All right, so we'll go back to Article 18, which is for the planning board, Mr. Scanlon,
Yeah, I just want to ask Bill, Mr. Chair,
Mr. Sullivan.
I think, actually, I honestly think it appears to be a wonderful idea to create a small business district. I'm just, want to check with the planner. Was this brought forward by the citizens in that area, or was it,
Two of the landowners in the area.
are they the owners of all 9 properties, or they spoke to?
Excuse me?
Are they the owners of all 9 properties?
No. The planning board asked to contact all those property owners to see if they would support that zoning change, and we did get signatures from those folks.
Okay. Like I said, I think it's a great idea to create there's already a couple of businesses over there as it is, you know, to add to it.
I'm glad to see that one finally moving
Yep.
forward, yes. And 20?
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
Mr. Sullivan?
I'm wondering, this is the first time since I've been involved, planning and selectmen, that we take land out of conservation, especially for the purpose of residential. Again, was this put forward by the town to do this?
No, one of the landowners, Janice Williams and Jean Davis, own a piece of property, 16 acres in that district. And they have been trying to, I think, market that property, but it has no value because it's zoned for conservation. That district goes back to the original adoption of zoning in 1969. So the town zoned some private land as conservation. So they've asked the board to consider a zoning amendment to put it into a residential district category so that they could then sell the property as a residential land.
And again, Mr. Chair, the question always kind of catches me. It's one property. Does this pass the smell test for spot zoning? You rezone one parcel.
We did get an opinion from town council on that, and we sort of need to follow her guidance. It appears that it would not be considered spot zoning.
It would be or wouldn't be?
It would not be.
Can I just get a copy of that opinion, either emailed to me, because I don't have it in my...
Sure.
One of us will pick it up.
Yeah. Just, like I said, just kind of catches my eye when it's one piece of property.
We also invited the surrounding neighbors to that property to a planning board meeting last week. These are folks that actually have homes in the district. 2 of them are grandfathered, they predated zoning, but 2 were built after that district was enacted. But we wanted to get their thoughts in terms of how they felt about having their property rezoned out of conservation. They didn't seem to have a problem with it. They seemed to think that zoning was not an issue for them because they already have homes in that district.
Right.
But for the vacant land, it is an issue.
One last question, Mr. Chair. Does that make that conservation piece landlocked, or the piece that's adjacent to the potential rezoning, is that also conservation, Bill? It's actually fronts back out to the road? Is the piece on the water, the big piece, and then there's like another piece right
The
next
town
to it?
has a piece of land next to this lot in question.
Yeah, that's the big one, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
to
that's
the
like, yeah,
west.
but this piece I'm talking about, the
And
smaller
then
one.
The one right below it, Bill, in the
And
map.
Pierpont Meadows Wildlife Sanctuary owns up some of the abutting land. And there's some other land that's in a conservation restriction. But this particular property is just privately owned.
It looks like it fronts on Henry Marsh. You know
Yes.
the piece, that's a big, like a 7-acre piece we got, right? Oh, no, a little bigger, we got donated a few years back. All right, I just want to make sure the use, if this passes, that the intent of the conservation land is still being able to be used. But again, this is the first time I've ever seen, I wish Mr. Wheelock could stay, he probably knows better than I do, but first time I've ever seen land come out of conservation.
So, there's kind of a legal question involved, is can a town zone somebody's development rights away? So it seems to be what's happening here is that you've zoned somebody's property and they can't do anything with it. So that's a legal question whether the town has the authority to do that. Generally, we have strong landowner ethic in this country so that if you own a piece of property, you can, entitled to develop it, according to certain limitations that zoning might provide.
Right,
So
I would
that's
assume-
kind of the question here.
I just would assume that the proper procedure was followed at the time. Maybe it's a little bit different now. I know we have posting requirements and notification through, not to individuals, but to the town at large. All right, yeah, that's all. That was just my question, Bill. I appreciate it.
Okay, sure.
Did you want to ask a question, Mr. Chairman, through the chair on Article 20 on those?
This is 20.
Yeah.
So we're good on both?
Yeah.
18 and 20?
Yeah.
Do we want to continue to have the recommended action be that it's referred to the planning board, or you want to?
Yeah, I want to wait till I read that letter, Mr. Chair. That's all. Can we just defer it to the next meeting?
Sure.
Is that okay?
We can do it tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I trust everybody. I just want to see it.
Okay.
That's okay with the rest.
Anybody have any other questions on any of the other articles? I think we discussed those quite a bit.
The planning board is holding the public hearing on Wednesday night on those amendments.
Okay,
If anybody listening would like to come, they're welcome.
great. Wednesday night, planning board,
7?
Yes.
7 PM.
All right, thanks, Bill.
Okay. So Jonathan, do you want us to vote the next meeting, or all but that article tonight?
Why don't we just do the whole thing and we can change it if we need to? The recommended action. We can do that as the night of the town meeting if we want.
So approve it tonight, in case, and then edit if needed?
Right. All we're voting on is the approval of the articles on the warrant. We can change our recommended action at any point.
Okay, board members?
Trying to see how we want to phrase it. So the motion, Mr. Administrator, would basically just be approve the warrant articles as presented with no recommended action on 20? Or none at all, we do it all the night of?
No, approve the warrant. Actually, I put a sample in there. Sample motion on the agenda.
It says included recommended actions on all
You
articles
can
as
just,
discussed.
you can strike that if you want.
I don't see the, somebody else can make it, I'll just.
Okay.
I have it.
Yeah?
No, I'm looking at it.
Okay, you wanna make the motion?
Was it on the agenda?
It's on the agenda. I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the fiscal year '23 town meeting warrant, draft 1, as presented, with no recommendations, and that the Board of Selectmen authorize the town administrator to make any changes and edits to the form, numbering, format, and correctness of the warrant prior to posting that may be recommended by bond counsel, special counsel, or town council as legally required, so long as none of those changes alter the intent of the vote taken here tonight.
Motion by Mr. Sigenovich,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Johnson. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
That was good, no
Excellent.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that on the agenda. All right, number 11, board member comments. Carrie, you have anything tonight?
I have nothing, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, Mr. Sullivan?
Not too much, Mr. Chair, I just want to thank everyone who returned papers that are interested in running for office. It's a big commitment, as we all know, and I'd just like to commend the town administrator and all the staff. I think we made enormous headway on budgetary issues, especially at the last meeting. And again, we can always tweak votes, but it's been a tough time coming out of the pandemic, and I just want to thank everyone for all they've done to help make it a good process for the town.
Thank you, Stephen. Katie?
I'd like to thank everyone that participated in Earth Day, either through the town events or on your own. Picked up the disgusting mess that people leave out there between just rubbish on the side of the road, TVs, tires, a crock pot in a pool. That was my favorite find of the day. I just don't get it. I don't understand what's so hard about putting in your trash. But, you know, a lot of people were out there cleaning. Kudos to Board of Health for putting on a good event too. Thanks to the Highway Department for sponsoring the location, and were great helps there as well.
Mr. Johnson, and I have nothing additional tonight. Item 12, Department Communications. Jeff, anything else?
So I just wanted to say the highway department will be out cleaning catch basins, doing street sweeping over the next couple of weeks. We've actually been working with one of our department members and a local resident who's also a student at Worcester State University. She's a geography major, and she's been working along with one of our employees to locate in the GIS system all of the outfalls, culverts, and catchments for the, which will assist us in the MS4 reporting. They're nearing the end of that. They've done a fantastic job of capturing almost all of them in the system. So I'd like to invite her into a future meeting. It's been very helpful with what she's done to work along with us. So.
Mr. Chair, while Jeff's up there, nice job on the rehab for the loader. You guys did it all in-house. You sent out that picture.
That was great.
Yeah, through it with the help of the highway staff, we reconditioned a 2006 loader that basically looks like a brand new machine now. So, we'll,
Key word there, Mr. Chair, being 2006.
I heard it. I heard it.
People say, you got some great equipment. Well, that's going on 16 years.
it actually has about, believe it's about 31,000 miles on it. So, okay, thank you.
Thanks,
It
Jeff.
said, Mr. Chairman, that intern came in and did almost all of the mapping, all of our stormwater outfalls, culverts, everything else, which would have been big buckaroos that the town
so,
would have had to pay for.
She's been working through an internship. We were contacted by a Dr. Hanson, that's one of the professors at Worcester State University, and she required about 120 hours of work. So a good deal of it has been field work. She has, also taken credit for some of the other work that she's done related to this. Bill and I have both met with her to work through this, and I couldn't have imagined in my wildest dreams that they would have been able to capture as many of the, or make the progress that they actually did. So it's actually a fantastic program, and we've actually been contacted by Dr. Hanson about having future interns come in to assist with some of the other work. So there's other testing and documenting that goes along with this for the MS4 reporting that we have to do on a yearly basis with increasing requirements too for the MS4 reporting. So it's good news.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
Very good.
Dean? All set? Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. Just a couple of things while my lieutenant's here, just give him some kudos to him and my admin assistant, Lauren. They were able to work through with LexisNexis to get us activated on online accident reports or crash reports. So people who are involved in crashes can now access them online once they're uploaded. So it was a lot of work. They had to work through and a lot of things there. So anybody who's in an accident is going to be given some information how they can access it quickly through there. We can still give them here physically if people need them, but it's a nice, easy access point for both citizens and also insurance companies and things on that lines. With accidents in mind, unfortunately, we had a serious fatality this weekend out on 131. Lieutenant Kolowitz, Sergeant Poplowski, Ryan Daniels, Louis Pacheco. Fire department showed up, did a great job up there too. And thanks to the highway department for all the help over there that they gave us, because we had to detour the road and bringing the accident reconstruction folks in for quite some time. So unfortunately, it was serious. A local, well-known individual was killed in that crash. So we're still in the process of investigating it, and hopefully we'll have some information on that in the coming weeks. Last thing is we have our drug take-back taking place this Saturday, the 30th, from 9 to 1 downstairs. So anybody with prescription medications they want to get rid of, perfect time to do it. I think Harrington Hospital is going to have some representatives on hand too, providing some medical information and different things that are there. So that's it. So any other questions on anything? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Landry, Chairman, CIP.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to say it was a quick process this year through several meetings set up by the town administrator. All the department heads turned in their 5-year plans, and a request for projects and or equipment have been turned in, and our annual has been turned in as well. So there should be nothing left to review.
Excellent.
Thank you very
sir.
much.
Mr. Chairman, just to add to that, as these betterments go through, Rich reminded me today that we'll probably put these streets, before the construction starts, we're gonna ask for an impromptu, a last-minute meeting from the capital improvement committee to put the streets up for, in front of the capital improvement committee, for approval, so we can get it onto the plan and show that before he borrows any money for it, so.
That's a great point. Materials over a certain amount, right?
Yeah, so,
Awesome.
Mr. Landry won't be off the hook quite yet.
Not yet. Thank you, Mr. Landry. Rich?
Good evening. Page 1 of 10. Just kidding. I'd like to thank everybody who sat through all of the Maya training review. The way Maya, our insurance works, property, casualty, workers' comp, injured on duty, public officials liability, that line. We receive credit for the work that we do. When I say we, as in all of the department heads, really individually, members of the highway department will contribute to this. So from the individuals up to the leadership, each year it gets better and better and better. I get a quick peek at the renewal. We're off to a good start. We have until May 20th to get more credits in, and the more years with better and better credits, obviously it's going to lower our premium, so I appreciate everybody sitting through that. It's not dynamic, it's not exciting, but it's there for a reason. It's a chance to learn. End of the month of May, we're going to be borrowing money. It's going to be a ban. Remember, we have our 1/5 pay down on a few items. Anything that's authorized, unissued as of this date, we can go through and borrow for. That would also be any chapter money, complete streets, bigger highway projects, anything in advance of a state contract. The whole idea is if Jeff performs work in May and June, we don't receive the reimbursement until July, they'll hit the free cash, so we need to borrow in anticipation of the reimbursement. So if there's anything that comes up that's already been approved, we're going to go through and do that. The reason I mention it, I'm going to need everybody's signature probably middle of the month when we have our sale. Again, it should be a good barometer as to the future. It should be very advantageous to borrow at these rates. Health insurance open enrollment runs until the middle of the month of May. If anybody on the board has any questions, please feel free to reach out. We're making a transition from our older software to a newer collector, treasurer, accountant, assessor. It's the bigger package. It's Vadar. So there's some changes going. Again, everybody has been very helpful. Everybody has been very patient on those things. Sort of a learning process, but it is a known entity, so it's not like we're going to have to break new ground on anything. So the ability to go through and make a positive pay system for your accounts payable checks, or a migration from payroll or what have you, just a matter of working out some of the smaller items. Last time I spoke, we were in the process of updating the health insurance policy manual again. Blue Cross governs us, the Hampshire Council of Governments Insurance Trust. The town has accepted certain sections of Mass General Law, and we have our own internal policies. So we're sort of highlighting everything, memorializing them for compliance reasons. You didn't want to get to a point where you had a situation which hadn't been previously addressed. Obviously, we want to be as close to the law as possible. I anticipate an update to that in a week or two, so I appreciate your patience on that. And if you really, really want to be bored, on May 2nd, S&P is going to give us our review. As long as you have issuances out, and that issuance had been reviewed by Standard & Poor's, they're going to go through and literally review your audit, management practices, things like that. Obviously, you don't know all of the questions going into it, because what is a concern to the market today wasn't a concern to the market a month ago. So certain things are having a good framework, but again, our ability to answer and maneuver to whatever the market sees is important. You know, they're gonna ask questions about ARPA, how were our collections during COVID? What about this, what about that? How have you gone through and adapted to those things? If anybody has an interest in any of it, of course, please reach out to me. The town administrator is gonna be on the call, town accountant's gonna be on the call. And finally, always leave on a positive note, May 1st, which is the fourth quarter, real estate bills are due. Obviously, I'm not gonna be here on Sunday, but May 2nd, they are due. All of your excises that were originally mailed out in February, everybody got those red bills. Please make sure and get those paid, because those are gonna go off to the deputy collector shortly. Water and sewer bills are probably 2 weeks out for getting those printed, mailed out. And again, we like to get those done a little early, because you wanna get as much as you can in before June 30th, so that when they calculate their retained earnings and everything. Appreciate the board's time this evening. I was a little long-winded.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks, Rich.
No student representative tonight. Item 14, we're gonna adjourn into executive session. Mr. Sigenovich, would you like to lead us there?
Absolutely. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we convene into executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Police CBA.
Sorry.
Motion by Mr. Sigenovich, seconded by Mr. Johnson.
Not to
Yeah, I was gonna say, not to reconvene in public session, right?
I wasn't sure if we were or not, that's why I held
Okay,
off.
yeah.
Negative.
So, negative, and then, okay with him? All right, roll call vote.
Terry Sigenovich, aye.
Stephen Sullivan, aye.
Jay Johnson, aye.
John Marcy, aye, unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Everyone.
Ooh.